Next, I want to introduce you to a great guest. You know, we always say with WOAMTEC, men are welcome, women are required. This man is absolutely welcome with WOAMTEC. He is a member of our Heathrow chapter, and we're glad to have Dale with us today. So, Dale, thank you so much for being here.
Absolutely, my pleasure.
Tell everybody who you are and a little bit about what you do.
My name is Dale McMindes, and I'm an Allstate agent. And first off, before I go any further, I got to do a shout out to all the Heathrow hotties and a few good men. Woo! All right.
That's good. I thought you were going to do your in good hands thing.
I can do that as well.
Okay, please do.
You're always in good hands with Allstate.
Absolutely. So you're with Allstate, and
Absolutely.
How long have you owned this practice? How long have you been in this firm?
About 2.5 years now.
Okay, and you're kicking butt.
We are. We are.
Awesome.
We're already on pace for a second full year of Honor Ring, which is a Florida award, and we're excited. We're excited about the prospect for this coming up year.
That's awesome. Well, you know, one of the things that I love the most about Dale is you're really great about going up and meeting people and asking them for help and figuring out who they can refer you to or how you can be strategic partners. You know, you really do get the importance of creating a synergy where you're working together and you're not just selling to people. And likewise, you take the time to listen to what they do and to figure out how you can help them. And I admire you for that. You're very good at that. Today, I asked Dale to come today to talk to us a little bit about your business, the liabilities that may be involved in your business, or the risks that you may be taking in your business, and how you might be able to protect yourself. You know, whether you're a solopreneur, a one-man or woman operation running your business, or you have a large practice or a large firm, there's a lot of things that you need to take into consideration to protect yourself, to protect your family, to protect your employees, and to protect your business.
True. So true. You know, the first thing is people always think about when they're starting a business, or even if they're in business, they're always thinking about how to grow the business and what they're going to do to get that part of the business going. But people don't think about, as an owner, they don't think about what they're going to do. What is their succession plan? What is their exit strategy? And what are they going to do at the end of the time? You know, whether they are a single owner or they are a partnership, you know, you need to think about what are you going to do. So first thing you need to think about is if you're a partnership, are you setting up a buy-sell agreement? In other words, if you want to get out of the business, that you can orderly transfer the business to someone else, or you're going to have to go through a lot of issue if you don't. Second thing is that you're planning retirement. You know, that's the goal of everyone. You want to be able to retire. You want to be able to enjoy some time. But are you really planning? Are you planning financially to be able to do that? And whatever that vehicle is, whether through some type of a IRA, 401k program, something along those lines that can do that for you.
Well, let's talk a little bit about that, because I think we've had a couple of people on the show where we've talked about exit strategies, mainly people that are attorneys or something like that. But people don't often think, because their goal right now is paying the bills. Their goal is getting through this building the business, that they often don't think about that exit strategy until they're ready to exit, and then they're like, oh, what do I do? Where do I go? But more importantly, what happens if you abruptly exit? Like, I imagine that your family depends on the work that you do, right?
Absolutely. You need to think about, like, if something happened to you, if you get sick or you get hurt, you need to put some type of a long-term disability plan in place. Because your business can continue on, and you still need money coming in to support you and your family. So have you put something like that in place is huge.
Well, we were talking before the show about, I personally have life insurance in place, but until we started talking, I didn't realize, or I didn't think that, I might need a policy just for WOAMTEC. I might need a WOAMTEC policy, so if something happens to me, my husband would have money, and he wouldn't be pulling from the money that I have designated to pay our mortgage or whatever, but he would have a WOAMTEC account that they could hire a CEO, they could hire a replacement.
A key person policy, exactly.
Okay, well, you also mentioned employees, and that really shocked me. So give them an idea as to what they can do if they have a key employee that they depend on that may not be a husband or a wife or somebody that you're related to. How would a business owner use that to in order to protect their office or their business?
It's huge. I mean, especially if you, it doesn't matter the size, but especially if you're a small company, if you have a key employee that is, if something happens to them, whether or not if it's untimely or if they're out for an extended period of time, you are depending upon them to be able to keep that business going. And so you can actually set up a life insurance policy, for example, on your key employees. And that way, if something happens and you need to replace them, you can actually get the money from the life insurance policy and actually help in that time while you search for your new employee.
Important. And that would probably enable a small business to actually use a recruiting firm or a staffing firm or whatever, where normally they might be stressed out about the expenses or the paying the commissions and the things like that, which would delay the hiring and training process because they're
Correct.
not hiring somebody
Correct.
that's as prepared
Correct.
for the job. But it would give them the funds to be able to hire them sooner and have somebody else help you through that selection process to make your life easier, which is important.
Absolutely. You know, you hit the nail on the head because it's going to cost. It's expenses. You know, you have to go out and a hiring firm. It's all going to cost money, and you may not have it.
Now, I know we've mentioned in the past, we've talked a little bit in the past about subsidy health insurance and all the changes that are happening like that. Do you have any suggestions or advice or recommendations on small business owners that may be watching that may say, you know, how do I compete with all the other companies out there? Like, how do I get, you know, during the recession, I can say, be happy you have a job. You know what I mean? Suck it up. Be happy you have a job. I don't pay insurance. I don't pay benefits. I don't do any of that. Just kidding. I would never say that. But a lot of people may think that, you know, if you have a company and you don't know how to make a package that is able to be presented to really keep good people, what can a business do to offer things to their employees that may not cost a ton of money but may help with retention?
Well, you can set up any number of programs, but some you know, a lot of people with concern, and even with group packages right now, as of January 1st, 2014, the Affordable Care Act, I mean, there's a lot of group plans now that are rising in cost, and their deductibles are rising, and their co-pays are rising, and companies are having to figure out, how can we still be financially sound and at the same time be able to offer, to be able to attract people and to be able to retain people? And something that a lot of companies are doing out there and that we can definitely help with is supplemental benefits. You know, those are plans that either A, you as a company owner can actually participate in and help pay for, or B, you can actually offer it as a benefit, but you can actually not pay anything into it, and actually it's done through a payroll deduction plan. And these are hospital plans, cancer plans, accident plans, you know, even dental, vision, life insurance plans that can all be set up for the employees. The employees can pick what plans they choose because they're not tied to a major medical plan.
Right.
And they can pick and choose what they want and what's most important to them, done through a payroll deduction. The company looks great because they're offering the plans, but they're not financially having to be put in a position to pay for them.
I think that's awesome. And, you know, I can tell you, when my father passed away a few years back, I remember he was sick for a period of time before he passed. And I remember every time it was like, oh, he's got to go to the hospital again. And, oh, it was like so, and that sounds horrible, but it was always for my mother and for myself. Just, you know, everybody had to pack everything up and we had to go by and visit him. And like, it was like every month we would spend 3 days at the hospital. And I know that if we would have had supplemental insurance on him, a couple of things, it wouldn't have been so stressful, because you could get a plan where every time they go to the hospital, you are at least compensated. So you would almost get excited, you know, instead of being stressed out that he's back in the hospital again. But there's lots of ways that can relieve those kind of burdens.
There are. I mean, you think about, I mean, these plans, although they are supplemental, the great thing is they're not tied to a hospital system. They're not tied to a major medical system. They're not tied to a doctor's system. You can cross the state lines and use them. But the payouts for them are far outweigh the cost in many cases. I mean, if you develop a cancer, God forbid, you know, these plans can pay out, and it can be the difference between going under financially and not going under financially. They are really strong plans.
Or getting the specialized care that you wish you could afford.
Exactly.
Versus the care that you can't afford, which is important.
Exactly.
So whether it be for your employee or for your family or for yourself, there are things that everybody in the new year, in 2014, everybody should be looking at. You should be talking to somebody and just make an educated decision. If you don't know what your options are, there's no way that you can make sure that you're protecting your family or your business if you haven't sat down and said, okay, you know, what is available to me? Where is my liability? Where are my risks? And what am I willing to take for my family? And how do I want to protect myself, which is important. Now, I know you have a few more tips that you wanted to share as far as being a business owner is concerned. So what are some of the things, well, we talked about this before the segment, workman's compensation. I would almost bet that most of the people that are watching this right now probably don't have workman's compensation. Is that a good decision or a bad decision?
That's a bad decision. That is the chances of one of your employees getting hurt is growing and growing, and depending upon the type of trade that it is. But really, you need to have that. The cost and the litigation, and if it goes into an extended period of time, can be very, very financially detrimental. And so a workman's comp policy is huge. And even if you have, you know, just a few employees, all the way up to the size of a large corporation, it is well worth investigating and getting one, and they are very reasonable, very
Right,
reasonable. Absolutely are.
What type of liability insurance do you think is like? What type of businesses would need what type of liability insurance that you would recommend?
Well, I mean, I would recommend looking at you talking about the supplemental piece. You know, if you're looking at trades, especially if you know the accident plans, you think about if you own a company, say you own a plumbing company, you know, and those people are out working constantly with their hands. If those employees get hurt, they're not working, and those kind of people need those plans because they have benefits built into them, not only for the recuperation and the healing process, but also for the long-term care. There are so many facets to them that are really comprehensive, and they really can help. They can help people.
Though we do have a few plumbers that are in WOAMTEC, which is surprising because I just processed one today that can absolutely relate to this. Most of our members aren't plumbers. So
yes.
Let's take a look at an opposite side of that spectrum, and let's talk about somebody that may be in direct sales. Maybe it's someone that sells jewelry, or someone that sells makeup, or someone that sells, you know, anything that's retail related. The chances of them using their car to go to all these appointments and to go to WOAMTEC and to do all that, their family car, is very high, even though technically they're running a business. So what advice would you have for somebody in that situation?
Well, as Mesret talked about, you know, just in the last segment, talking about separating out your personal account and your business account, that is such wise wisdom. And again, the same thing is with your vehicle. If you are using your vehicle for business purposes, number one, you need to get it rated as a commercial policy. Number one. Number two, from a tax perspective and also from a deduction perspective. I mean, if you're a small business owner especially, and you're looking for every deduction that you can get to be able to minimize that tax bill, that tax burden, you know, those deductions are huge. And again, I'm not a CPA, but I can tell you that working with CPAs out there, and I'm sure we have several of them in our chapters, they will testify to the fact that you want to separate that, number one. Number two, if you're going to be using your vehicle like that, you need to be able to have insurance that is rated as a commercial policy. You don't want to be having a litigation issue down the road if you, knock on wood, proverbial, that something happens, you're in an accident or something like that, and it's determined that your vehicle is not being used for its proper use. And that just gets into a whole can of worms you don't want.
And you know, for any small business entrepreneur that's out there, I think it's really important to take into consideration that whenever your liability is there, whenever you're putting your company at risk, a lot of times as business owners, we kind of tighten up our pocket or wallet or whatever instead of letting it go. And unfortunately, you know, if Apple had a lawsuit, I'm sure they can probably handle it. You know, if Dell had a lawsuit, they could probably they probably have legal people on staff that could just be like, okay, let's deal with this. If I had a lawsuit, or if you had a lawsuit, you know, do you have an attorney on retainer? Do you have the money to be able to go to litigation? Do you have all of that? And that's what Dale's talking about. You know, in the new year, when you're working on making your goals, I think it's critical that every business looks at what risk you're taking and understands that if something happens, it could be a catastrophe, not only for you, but for your entire family, which is huge. So now, is there any other, as we wrap up the segment, is there any other suggestion that you have, or a thing that you want to mention in regards to property and casualty insurance, or you know, anything else that a business owner would need to take into consideration?
Well, I would definitely be looking at if you're depending upon your trade, if you are in any type of professionalism, for example, doctors, lawyers, if you work at a hospital, you know, professional liability is huge, because I mean the chances of like an errors and omissions claim just goes through the roof. I mean, as you all hear on TV, I mean the number of lawsuits going up and the amounts that are being paid out. For you as an entrepreneur, if something were to happen to where either your product, something went wrong with your product, or a service that you offered just went terribly wrong, and you get sued, you know, do you have a liability policy in place to help you? Are you planning on paying for it out of pocket? Because trust me, the amount of money you're going to pay out of pocket is going to be, it will not cover it unless you're Donald Trump or something like that. It's just not going to happen. So for pennies on the dollar, in terms of how much it's going to cost you to get a liability policy, it is well worth it. And it doesn't matter what your business is, you need, or your services, you need to think about having a liability policy in place, because that is just, it's huge. You got to have it.
Absolutely, and it's a simple thing to fix and a simple thing to do. So, Dale, thank you so much for being here today.
My pleasure.
If somebody, well, first of all, where can you help people? Like, are you limited to Central Florida? Are you limited to the state of Florida? Can you refer them to people outside of the state if they need to meet somebody?
We can help anyone in the state of Florida, but with our supplemental benefits plans, we can help anyone in the entire continental United States. So, for example, if someone had an office here or an office up in Minnesota, we can go and set up a plan for their supplemental benefits here, and we can send people to the reps right there. So we're nationwide with that. It's really great. And we're ranked #1. I mean, although we're not known versus some of our competitors, we are, LIMRA, which is a rating service, ranks 5 out of our 6 plans as #1 ranking.
That
so
is awesome.
They are really great.
That is awesome. Well, thank you so much for being here today. I'm so excited. And you know, I do want to mention real quick that you can find Dale on the WOAMTEC Heathrow page, and he's on the directory there. And if you check him out, are you on our Facebook page, the WOAMTEC Facebook page? If
Yeah,
not,
yeah.
Okay,
So, yeah.
you can go to the WOAMTEC Facebook page, which some of you may be posting on right now. It's where we posted a link to this show, and you can connect with him there as well. And I appreciate you for being here
My
today.
pleasure.
All right,
Thank you.
thanks, Dale. Take care. Have a great day.